I used to be the invisible guy in the IT basement. Then the woman who owns the city decided I was the only man she wanted, and she burned my enemies to the ground. If you enjoy stories about instant karma, turning the tables on disrespectful people, and winning in the end, do me a favor. Hit that like button right now. It helps other guys find this story. And if you're new here, subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next one. Now, let me tell you how I went from zero to the owner of the city. Listen, I'm writing this down not to brag, but because I need to get it out of my system, and frankly, because if I told anyone in my real life, they'd think I was hallucinating. You know that feeling when you're walking through a crowd and you feel like a ghost? Like you could scream and no one would turn their head? That was my life for 5 years. I was the guy you bumped into and didn't apologize to. I was the guy whose name you forgot 3 seconds after the introduction. I was the nice guy who finished last so often I stopped even seeing the finish line. But last Friday, I watched the man who made my life a living hell for 3 years cry in front of 300 people while security escorted him out of the building. And the woman who gave the order? She was holding my hand the entire time. If you've ever felt overlooked, disrespected, or just tired of the grind, you're going to want to hear this. It started about 6 months ago. My life was essentially a dumpster fire. I worked in IT for a massive logistics firm in Chicago. I'm a back-end developer, decent at my job, but in a corporate structure like that, if you aren't loud, you aren't seen. My boss, let's call him Greg, was the kind of guy who peaked in college and never got over it. He was loud, incompetent, and had a talent for taking credit for my code. Every major patch, every crisis averted, Greg was there in the boardroom presenting my work as his team leadership, while I was stuck in a server room eating a vending machine sandwich. To make matters worse, my girlfriend of 2 years, Jessica, had just dumped me. She didn't even have the decency to do it in private. She did it at a crowded coffee shop, loud enough for the barista to hear. She told me I lacked ambition. She said I was stagnant. 2 weeks later, I found out she was dating, you guessed it, Greg. It felt like the universe was playing a practical joke on me. I was the punchline. I started working late, ridiculously late, mostly because I didn't want to go home to an empty apartment, but also because Greg kept piling his workload on me, so he could leave early to take Jessica out to dinner. It was a Tuesday around 9 p.m. The office was a ghost town. The cleaning crews were the only ones left, the hum of vacuums echoing down the hallways. I went to the break room on the 40th floor to get some stale coffee. That's when I saw her. She was sitting at one of the small round tables, staring at a laptop with a look of pure, unadulterated frustration. She didn't look like the corporate types I was used to. She was wearing a simple black turtleneck and slacks, no jewelry, hair tied back in a messy bun. She looked tired, beautiful in a sharp, intimidating way, but exhausted. I assumed she was an auditor or maybe someone from legal working on a case. Those people never slept. I poured my coffee. I should have just walked away. But I saw her slam her hand on the table. Not hard, just a defeated thud. Everything okay? I asked. She looked up, startled. Her eyes were gray, piercing. She looked at me like she was trying to calculate my net worth in a microsecond, then sighed. This machine, it's locked me out. I have a presentation with the Tokyo branch at 7 a.m., and the encryption key is corrupted. I walked over. Mind if I take a look? I'm IT. She hesitated, then slid the laptop over. Be my guest. It was a custom build. High-end. No company stickers. I sat down and started typing. It wasn't a standard lockout. The kernel was panicking because of a driver conflict with the encryption software. It was tricky, the kind of thing that would make a tech support genius cry. But I live for this stuff. It was the only time I felt in control. You're good, she said softly, watching my fingers fly across the keys. I have a lot of practice fixing other people's mistakes. I mumbled, mostly thinking about Greg. It took me 20 minutes. I bypassed the driver check, rebuilt the boot sequence, and got her to the login screen. "You're in," I said, spinning the laptop back to her. She stared at the screen, then at me. "You didn't ask for my ID or a ticket number." I shrugged, taking a sip of my terrible coffee. "It's 9:30 at night. You look like you had a long week. I'm not going to be the guy who asks for paperwork when the building is empty." She closed the laptop slowly. "Thank you. What's your name?" "Mark," I said. "I'm Elena," she replied. "Nice to meet you, Elena. Don't stay too late. The AC shuts off at 10. I walked away. I didn't hit on her. I didn't ask for her number. I didn't try to impress her. I just fixed the problem and went back to my hole. I thought that was it, but she kept showing up. A few nights later, she was there again. This time, she brought 2 coffees from a place down the street. The expensive stuff. She sat with me while I ran diagnostics on the server array. We just talked. It was strange. She asked me questions nobody ever asked. Not "what do you do?" but "why do you do it?" She asked about my life. I told her the truth. I told her about Greg stealing my work. I told her about Jessica leaving me for him. I didn't whine, I think. I was just matter-of-fact about it. I told her I was tired of being the stepping stone for other people. "Why do you stay?" she asked, her gaze intense. "Because I'm good at this," I said, gesturing to the servers. "And because I keep hoping that if I just work hard enough, someone will eventually notice that I'm the one keeping the lights on." She looked at me for a long time, an unreadable expression on her face. Competence is a rare currency, Mark. Usually it's the loudest voices that get heard, not the smartest minds. "Tell me about it." I laughed bitterly. We fell into a routine. For 3 weeks, every time I worked late, Elena was there. We'd order takeout. We'd talk about everything: politics, philosophy, old movies. I started to look forward to it. I started to fall for her, honestly. She was sharp, funny in a dry way, and she actually listened. She made me feel seen for the first time in years. But I kept my distance. She was smart, obviously successful in whatever department she was in, and I was just the IT guy with a bad haircut and a broken heart. Then came the company gala. This was a mandatory event. Black tie. The company had just merged with a European conglomerate, and the big bosses were flying in. Everyone was on edge. Greg was manic. He had made me write a speech for him to give to the division heads, specifically instructing me to dumb it down so he could improvise. I showed up in a rented tux that didn't quite fit in the shoulders. I grabbed a drink and found a corner, hoping to ride out the clock until I could leave. That's when Greg saw me. He was with Jessica. She looked great, I won't lie, but seeing her hanging off Greg's arm made my stomach turn. They walked over, Greg flushed with expensive scotch and arrogance. "Marky," Greg boomed, slapping my back hard enough to make me spill my drink. "Didn't think you'd make the cut for the guest list. Security getting lax, huh?" Jessica laughed. That little, mean laugh she used to use when I dropped something in the kitchen. "Be nice, Greg. You probably snuck in to fix the Wi-Fi." My jaw tightened. "Just here for the free booze, Greg. Same as you." Greg's smile dropped. He stepped closer, invading my personal space. "Watch your tone, pal. You know, I'm up for VP after this merger. And the first thing I'm going to do is trim the fat in the IT department. You might want to start polishing that resume. Oh, wait. What are you going to put on it?" "Assistant to the guy who actually matters." I wrote the code that saved the Q3 logistics platform. "Greg," I said, my voice shaking slightly. "You couldn't code 'Hello World' if your life depended on it." Greg laughed, loud and cruel. People were starting to look. "Nobody cares about the code, Mark. They care about who sells it. You're a tool, a hammer, and hammers don't get to talk. Now, give me a refill or don't bother coming on Monday." I stood there, humiliated. The room fell hot. Jessica looked at me with pity, which was worse than the scorn. I was about to turn around, walk out, and never come back. I was done. Then, the room went silent. I mean, dead silent. The music stopped. The chatter died. I turned to look at the grand staircase. Walking down was a woman in a dress that looked like it was woven from starlight and midnight. It was deep blue, hugging every curve, with diamonds dripping from her neck that probably cost more than my entire apartment building. Her hair was down, cascading over her shoulders. She radiated power. Not the loud, bullying power Greg had, but the kind of power that shifts the gravity in the room. It was Elena. My brain short-circuited. The auditor? The lawyer? A man in a tuxedo, the CEO of our company, rushed to the bottom of the stairs, looking terrified. Madame Vane, he stammered into the microphone. We didn't expect you until tomorrow. Madame Vane. The name hit me like a truck. Elena Vane. She wasn't an auditor. She was the primary shareholder of the European conglomerate that had just bought us. She owned the company. She owned the building. She owned everything. She ignored the CEO. She ignored the board of directors lining up to kiss her ring. Her eyes scanned the room, sharp and predatory. Then she saw me. Her face softened. That small, genuine smile I had seen over cheap takeout appeared. She walked straight through the crowd. The sea of people parted for her like she was Moses. She walked right up to our little group. Greg was trembling. He looked like he was about to throw up. Jessica's mouth was hanging open. Elena didn't even look at them. She stopped in front of me, reached out, and straightened my bow tie. "Hello, Mark," she said, her voice clear in the silent room. "You clean up nice. You own the company," I managed to whisper. "I do," she said, "but that's boring. I'd rather talk about that server migration you mentioned last night. Or maybe we can finally go get a real dinner. I'm starving." She turned, finally acknowledging Greg. The temperature in the room seemed to drop 10 degrees. She looked at him like he was a stain on her shoe. "You must be Gregory," she said. Greg sweated. Yes, Madame Vane. An honor. I was just telling Mark here." "I heard what you were telling him." She cut him off. Her voice was ice. "I've been reviewing the logs for the past 3 weeks, Gregory. I know who wrote the code. I know who stayed late while you were out expensing dinners. I know who actually runs my IT infrastructure." She took a step closer to him. "You called him a tool?" "A hammer." Greg couldn't speak. He just squeaked. "Mark isn't a tool," Elena said, loud enough for the entire board to hear. "He is the architect of your success. And you're a parasite." She snapped her fingers. 2 large security guards materialized out of nowhere. "Escort this man out," she ordered calmly. "He is no longer employed by Vane Global. He is fired for cause. Freeze his severance. Audit his expense reports for the last 5 years. If he stole a paperclip, I want him prosecuted." Greg started to beg, but the guards hauled him away, his heels dragging on the marble floor. Elena turned her gaze to Jessica. Jessica took a step back, terrified. "And you," Elena said, her voice dropping to a dangerous whisper. "You told him he lacked ambition? You left a man of integrity for a hollow suit like that." She shook her head, a look of pure pity on her face. "You have terrible taste, and you're standing in my personal space." Jessica fled. She literally ran toward the exit. Elena turned back to me. The scary billionaire vanished, and the woman from the break room returned. She took my hand. Her skin was warm. "I'm sorry about the drama," she said, "but I really didn't like the way he spoke to you." "You own the company," I repeated, still in shock. "Why were you in the break room?" "Why me?" She squeezed my hand. "I was in the break room because I was hiding. Everyone wants something from me, Mark. Money, power, influence. They see the name, not the person. Then I met you. You didn't know who I was, and you helped me anyway. You listened to me. You made me laugh. You treated me like a human being." She stepped closer, her scent, expensive perfume and vanilla, filling my senses. "I've been looking for someone real for a long time," she whispered, "and I'm not letting you go. Now get me out of here." I know a place that serves burgers at 2 a.m., and I'm buying. She pulled me toward the exit. The CEO, the board, the managers, they all watched us go. I saw the look in their eyes. It wasn't just shock. It was fear and respect. We walked out into the cool Chicago night. The valet brought around a car that looked like a spaceship, some hyper-luxury electric sedan. She tossed me the keys. "You drive," she said, getting into the passenger seat. I got in. I looked at the steering wheel, then at her. She was watching me with a look of total adoration. "So," I said, starting the engine, "does this mean I get a raise?" She laughed, throwing her head back. "Mark, you can have the whole damn building if you want it. Just drive." As we pulled away, leaving the gala and my old life in a rearview mirror, I realized something. I wasn't the invisible guy anymore. I was the guy driving the getaway car for the queen of the city. And Greg? Last I heard, he's managing a fast food joint in the suburbs. I heard they make him work the late shift. Karma is a bitch. But Elena? She's an angel. And she's all mine. Listen, we all know a Greg in real life. Someone who takes the credit and thinks they're untouchable. If you enjoyed watching a guy like that finally get what he deserves, hit the like button right now. It sends a message. And if you want more stories where the underdog takes everything, make sure you subscribe. Don't be invisible. Join the channel.